Thanks for coming. Obviously, excited to get going after a bye week. I just want to start off by this is something for years we've been asked to wear a patch on our the coaches, and I'm not a big fan of just sticking patches on shoulders. And I found out more and more it's Duchenne muscular dystrophy research is why the coaches do this. It's called coaches for that.
Yes.
And to be honest, I just didn't know much about it. I did it because I was told to do it, and I've become very close with two members of our team. I consider them Noah and Jacob, who are stricken with this disease, and we love them to death. And so we're going to do some special things for those guys this week, and I ask for everybody to get involved. There's so many great things to get involved with, but this one kind of hit home now that I've never really knew much about the disease, and I do now. I say that not proud that I didn't know what it was, but I really am very familiar with because it hit home. It hit these two young people that are at our practice almost every day, and they're very close with us. So I want to start off by saying that, and a very tough opponent this week. Cincinnati, I have a lot of respect for them. Offensively, they've been good in the past. They're exceptional now. I saw firsthand live watching it that Friday night when they just put 400-plus yards in the air against Toledo, a good team. And they continued again this week with another good win against Miami, Ohio. So we have a lot of respect for their skill. The one thing that I still remember, Coach Tupperville saying that they're his best group of receivers that he's coached, and that struck a chord with me because I know what he's coached. He's coached some very good teams and some very good players. So we got to be at our best Saturday, and I expect us to be that. With the bye week, we practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week. We're back at it today, a +1 day, and we're ready to go. So I'll answer questions for you.
Front row left, Rusty.
Is this particularly good in an early bye week when you've got a young quarterback like JT? Does this buy him more time, or is it better for the game?
I think that question shows up every time we have a bye week. Was this a good week? I don't know. It's for earliest I think we've ever had one.
Particularly for a first-time quarterback starting.
Well, the other thing is you keep playing because he did get better that week. So I don't know. I can't really didn't give any thought to it. We got a bye week. We utilized it. We did a lot differently. We operated a lot differently this bye week than we have in the past. We practiced a lot of game reps, and it wasn't just for him, but it was that offensive line. We're still trying to finalize the final five or the starting five for the offensive line, and they had to get better. And then obviously on defense have some new players as well. So more game reps than we've ever done on a bye week.
Just as a follow-up, Texas, Arizona State, UCLA, Ohio State, you guys are all on backup quarterbacks. Is the importance of having a backup at that position now, I mean, it's always been important. Is it more so perhaps now because of responsibilities on a backup?
I think it's always been, you're a shoelace away from that guy going in the game. We kind of got spoiled here with Kenny Guyton the last couple of years, and yeah, I'm always, I'm just trying to think through my career. Alex Smith was a backup quarterback, took over and did very well. We had Tebow was our backup to Chris Leak. He did very well. Kenny Guyton was our backup here, so that's always been a big concern. I think it's getting probably a little bit more exposure than ever in the past.
Front row middle, Dave.
You mentioned last week you have an obligation to get the 5 best offensive linemen on the field. You just touched on this a little bit earlier. Have you settled on a starting 5 for this game, and when do you hope to settle on the starting 5?
Well, Jacoby had a high ankle sprain. He should be full go today, so he limited reps last week. Pat Elflein was dealing with some feet issues. He had some arch problems in the summer, and they surfaced a little bit, but he's fine. He's 100%. So we just, the guy that's improved a little bit is Chase Ferris, and he's the backup right tackle. And if he's one of the top 5, then he should be the backup right tackle. He should be the starting right guard. So we have not made a final decision on that, and I'm not sure we will this game. I think we're going to play 6 guys and get some rotation going.
So pretty good battle between Ferris and Price there at right guard.
Yeah, Ferris and Price, and then also, Pat Elflein at center. You got Joel Hale is continually battling. The guy that's made a big jump start last week was Tony Underwood. We moved him to center when Chad Lindsey stepped away because of injuries. So it's in flux a little bit, but the positive is there's very capable personnel that's available to us.
Second row left, Ari. Urban, you spend a lot of time talking about the importance of keeping the top prospects in the state. Conversely, when you go out of the state and you're recruiting other top prospects in other states, how do you approach that, and how do you recruit against other in-state schools of other programs that want to keep their kids in state?
Well, how do you do it? You just recruit. I mean, that's the name of the game. But we'll always recruit the footprint or the local as hard as we can. The negative that's happened in recruiting is you're not getting that chance to watch guys develop. Everybody's committing so early in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, I can't stand it. I like to go watch kids play their senior year, and there's nothing better than on your first bye week to go watch. We're going to watch juniors now. You don't watch the seniors because most of them are all committed. We're down to our last few scholarships for this class, and I can't remember it ever being like that. A couple schools would do that, but a lot of times you're getting your commitments in December and January. Now it's December, January, but it's of their junior year. So you're not even getting to watch them play their senior year, watch them develop. And so to answer your question, in-state recruiting is primary. Out of state, you kind of cherry pick. We have great respect for certain states, and we've had success and great ties. Jersey, Georgia, Florida are all the places where we've drawn players from. But then all of a sudden, Virginia now, with Jalen Holmes. So you just try to go first of all where the best players are, and second where you have connections or where there's an interest, and you'll get a Raekwon McMillan or a Von Bell.
You say that it's important early on in there. When you're being recruited by your home state school, it's easier to develop that talent, or need to notice that talent earlier, I would assume. You mentioned how much quicker things are. How does that change? Does it change at all when you're going out to places like Georgia and Virginia to not be able to get in? Or, when home state schools are getting in when they're freshmen and sophomores now?
There's a challenge. I mean, but it's obviously we've done okay with that. But there's a challenge. The thing that happens in state is schools are. I mean, there are schools that offer 150 kids. Not just in the state of Ohio, but we can't do that because what if they all come? We got a problem there, and so that's one of the problems in state. Where all of a sudden, well, this school came and offered me, Coach, why didn't you offer me? Well, they've offered 75 other guys too, and we get in a little bit of a rut because they'll say, why didn't you offer us? Well, we're going to. Let us watch you play, and then we'll offer you. So that's kind of what's going on in the last few years in recruiting. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but.
That's interesting. Thank you. Front row, Bill.
Given your background, Cincinnati's probably not just another school to you, obviously. Could you describe the difference between what Cincinnati is now compared to when you went there, and even when you played them in the bowl game? And
Sure.
Emotional attachment?
Sure. Very strong emotional. My sister's associate provost at Cincinnati. My other sister was a homecoming queen there, and obviously my dad and my grandfather. Just strong history at UC. Cincinnati's has had a very similar transformation of the academic reputation that Ohio State went through. I was there with something called U College, and it was open enrollment, and it was just a big state school. And my sister lets me know all the time that it's not that way anymore. It's a very high-end academic institution, and which has always had a great reputation, but just the administration, a lot like Ohio State. That'd be a great study of what's happened to the two largest in-state schools, how much they've grown as far as admission requirements. Very similar trajectory as far as, we're up to 29-30 average ACT. I don't know Cincinnati's, but I know they're done very well as well. So there's a strong tie, a lot of respect, and Cincinnati is a great town, it's a great university.
And in terms of the football program now?
Oh my goodness, yeah. That started, I was very aware of the transformation. It actually started with Coach Murphy, who's at Harvard, I believe now. But you saw a transformation of the program where they started investing into the facilities. And yeah, the facility when I played there it wasn't very strong. And they made a decision, a commitment, and obviously have had great rewards for it.
Third row left, Bill.
Could you talk a little bit about your experience playing there? What the program was like?
Not a lot of experience. I played professional baseball out of high school, and did that for a couple of years, and then made a decision to play football. Cincinnati, I probably wasn't a good enough player to go there, but I did play a little bit, and then just went right into coaching afterwards. So we were not very, it wasn't a great experience. We weren't very good, and but I still have great friends and good memories from my time there.
Your decision to hire Kerry Combs from Cincinnati, what went into that? Why did you want to?
Well, a lot of it was Cincinnati, but more as Kerry Combs. I don't want to, devalue Kerry. Kerry's an excellent football coach. I knew him from his days at Coleraine. For some reason, I remember because when we were here back in '86, '87, we had Carlos Snow, Greg Fry, Vinnie Clark. There's another player, Jay Cook. So we had Tom Lichtenberg recruited Cincinnati, and there was a story that Ohio State couldn't recruit the Cincinnati player, and I was like, I got real defensive. Like, what are you talking about? We used to always get the best players from Cincinnati. And so when I heard that, when we had a spot open, and that was part of the decision to hire Kerry, but not the only reason. Kerry's an excellent coach. But Cincinnati recruiting, and we've done pretty well down there. We hope to continue to do very well, because that's as good a football as there is.
That's what you answered the question.
Third row left, Todd.
Urban, there's a lot of talk in Cincinnati with the conference changes, membership in recent years. People see them as looking on the outside in as a Power 5 conference. Do you see Cincinnati football as a Power 5 conference?
Absolutely.
What makes it a Power 5 conference?
Well, it's the marketplace that you're talking about. TV sets. You're talking about there's a nice tradition at Cincinnati, and the recent tradition has been real good too. With what Coach Kelly, it started with Coach D'Antonio. I mean, the coaching tree that has developed in the last 25 years has been pretty remarkable, and the success they've had. So, yeah, I was surprised that they weren't invited into a Power 5. I don't know the whole story. Is that even the right term, Power 5? The Big 5 conferences, and I think we certainly respect them as if they are. I don't know. When we're watching film, they're certainly as good as a lot of the other teams that we've gone up against.
Front row left, Doug.
Urban, we talked so much about the pass defense in the offseason. 3 games in now.
Yeah. Here we go.
You've evaluated it. Has it come as far as you wanted it to? Is it good enough at this point?
Well, we haven't. The first game was wishbone. Second game we didn't play. We played pretty good. I think we held 190 some yards passing. Not great. And then the last game was out of hand really early. So we have not. This is the test. This is the one that we're all kind of shooting for, and they're really good in throwing the ball, and it'll be a challenge for us. So I can't make that evaluation yet after the first 3 games.
And obviously you're playing a very good in-state Ohio team this week.
Very good.
But when you went to Florida, I'm sure you went there knowing that there were 2 other national championship caliber programs in that state, with Miami and Florida State. At Ohio State is that team. Is there anything different about that, coaching here versus coaching in Florida? Coaching at a school where it's obviously clear Ohio State's the dominant team in the state versus when you went to Florida, there's 3 teams that are fighting to be the dominant team in that state. Does it make anything different, whether it's in recruiting or attention or anything at all about the program?
Interesting question. I'm just trying to think. When you at Florida, when you walked in a home, it was either a Knoll, a Cane, or a Gator. It was 33%. What am I getting into here? And usually you look on the wall and you figure out where you're at. And that's, that was it. You come walk in and say, doggone it, or you'd see them, they do this, and it'd be a good day for you. You walk in and do this, we have a low issue, or that. So right away you'd find out. Here I think more in Southern Ohio, you'll see a lot of UC allegiance. To say that we get in a ton of recruiting battles with them, we have a few, not to the same caliber that we did down there. But I see that continuing to, as UC continues to elevate their game, which they've done, I can see that happening down the road.
Second row left end, Dave.
Urban, just with Noah Spence returning to practice, how do you kind of balance the belief in the good of a kid versus what appears to be multiple core violation, zero tolerance issues? And is there a part of you that says, I don't want to hear any excuses, you're done? Or I guess, how do you weigh all that?
Oh, that's another good question. He's not going to practice now. That was just last week. So he's not practicing, he's getting full-time treatment. He is working out just for his well-being. I think that's a good question. When is the zero tolerance, when an addiction is set in or whatever, a decision to harm yourself and harm your teammate. Those are all that we wrestle with all the time. I've been criticized for many, many years about I treat these guys like they're my kid. And I'm not a big fan of dismissal. I just don't do that very often. It's got to be a severe one, where you're hurting someone else. I'm doing the best we can. We are, the Ohio State University, are a group of it. It's an institution based on educating people, so we're doing our very best. What the future holds for Noah, I have no idea. But to throw him to the street, I didn't feel like that was appropriate just yet. And we're going to do the best we can to help a guy that was a academic all Big Ten, good student, great family, that has a problem, and it's our job to help him. And I don't think you'll ever see our staff ever do that, so you're out in that kind of a situation. Now, unfortunately, sometimes it's not our decision.
Front row right, Austin. Urban, it seems like Mike Thomas has turned a corner. How or when did that happen?
Well, it's been a process. He has really done a nice job. He's was the mistake guy. Every third play, he'd go the wrong way or make a mistake and come up with some excuse. His maturity, his dad got real involved and the good thing, I love having conversations with dads about, not the third uncle, but dads about what we need to do to move on. And I think it was very productive. This is one of those good stories that, why is my son not playing? Well, here's why. Okay, let's fix it. Not, well, we're going to move him out of here. So he's reaping the rewards of a combined effort with his position coach, with his family, and with the head coach and strength coach of this is what you need to do, Mike. And to give him credit, he's done it.
Were you all tempted at that time last fall to put him back out there over those problems?
No, he didn't perform well. We made a decision last year. It wasn't to save him. We don't do that. If he's the best player, he wasn't the best player. And we saw some immaturity that he needed to mature, and he showed signs of it. So I know we did the right thing, and so does he know he did the right thing. We just have to, every day's a new day, and he's got to continue that same work ethic that's got him where he's at right now. He's a great story. It's one of the great ones of coaching, that you see a kid mature and turn into a young man.
Tim.
Yeah, Urban, two questions. Number one, Gunnar Kiel, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Because obviously, even though you spend time with your offense, you've got to see him on that Friday night.
Right.
Is he the kind of guy that just stands there and just wants to pick you apart? How would you describe him?
I see a very strong guy. He looks big. He looks big, strong arms, and throws in the, very courageous player that he throws into the oncoming pass rush. He's, like most really, really good quarterbacks, he's got really good personnel around him, really good. So I see one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
And the other thing, last year when things just kept getting, it seemed, at least from our vantage point, worse and worse with pass defense with you, did it almost drive you crazy? I mean, what was it like dealing with that? And what are the signs that tell you think y'all got it straight?
Well, I think last year when Christian went down, we had a void, not just in playmaking ability, but leadership, and we didn't have that answer, or the answer is too young. So number one is I've pushed our coaches extremely hard to get the young players ready to go. You can see us pushing Raekwon McMillan, and it's just not acceptable to have talented young players and say they don't know what they're doing. We'll teach them what they're doing. So that's number one. Number two is I feel we're very systematic now. Last year we had some errors, and we would change week to week to fix what was a weakness. We have a system. I really like our system right now. I believe in it. We need to see it executed this week, but it's more systematic, if that makes sense.
Two more questions. Back row left, Rob.
Urban, you did the HBO special. What prompted you to do that? What was the decision behind that? And what good comes from that? Is it just a reminder of what you don't want to be anymore? Or?
Oh, I don't know. A good question. I don't know why I did that. Andrea Kramer is the young lady's name that did and we get a lot of phone calls to do this, and this, Trace Armstrong, a very good friend of mine who helps me with some stuff, said, this is first class. It's a good story for families and people, and it might be good to do with it. I look back now, and it was a positive experience. I don't know why to answer your question, I don't know that. I can't say, hey, let's go do this. It came across my desk. I said, no, of course not. And then I got a couple of phone calls. I said, yeah, I do. It'd be good for, people to see and all that. So that's why.
And last question, Todd, front row, middle.
Urban, you get a lot of young players, especially on the offensive side of the ball, playing. You sort of referenced this in Tim's question a little bit. At what point in time, though, this is the fourth game of the season, what point in time is lack of experience, no longer a good excuse at the head coach's desk to say, hey, this guy.
After week one, I mean, we're not a big, I don't hope that you guys feel that we are not a big excuse program. We're not a blame, we don't blame, we don't, because if I hear that, and if you hear me say coach, I try to never go there. And I warn our staff, I hear that in our coaching staff, or when I say, how are our players doing? Well, you have a new quarterback. No, you don't. He's a veteran player now. So we try not to go there. If I hear, I don't listen to read a lot of stuff, but if Jerry says, Coach Fickle or Coach Herman are making excuses for a lack of experience, then I'll sit with a coach. I've never really had to do that. So I think those are long gone. If it's coming, it's certainly not coming from this building, I hope. About young players. I mean, that's.
I'm not saying you guys use it. I'm just saying, I mean, it's real, though. I mean, if.
Yeah, but it's not real anymore. You played the primetime game. You've played the wishbone. You've played, week 4. So it's as far as I'm concerned, it was over after week 1. The offensive line has to perform at a very high level. It's because it's an Ohio State standard. The good thing is I never hear that around here. If that's on the outside, that's on the outside.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you.